he said, you shouldn't worry about London spreading into the suburbs. You should worry about suburbs spreading into London. And he was right. Well, punk to me was the downfall of British life and English life. And it was the end of street culture. It sort of was a manufactured look to me. And it also was the end of London. It was the beginning of the end of London. Although it kind of stretched on for like interesting scene in the 80s and stuff. It was really saying, it opened up the floodgates to the suburbs. I mean, punks never had any integrity. They was out to shock. Now, if you go out to shock, I mean, there's always an element of slightly shocking or showing off, maybe. But they really were out to shock without any general thought behind it. And their way of doing that was by bringing everyone down to their level. And they actually said, oh, don't worship people that are good. Let's do it ourselves. And I always say, no, don't do it yourselves if you can't do it, please. And then you just had a never-ending amount of bands that just was hopeless and boring. And I just find that very suburban. People now adore something that they think they can do. They won't adore something that they can't do or think, oh, wow, that's so talented. That, what incredible people. They just seem to watch, oh, I can do that, I can make loads of money. And that's what the punk thing was all about, because that was the first thing that Malcolm McLaren said to me was, do you want to make loads of money? He never said, do you want to be part of this sort of thing? There was always lots of people around East London that would have a sort of nickname of different animals or be quite sort of shifty, and there'd always be a sort of door-to-door salesman that was always knocked off clothes though and things. It was a real sort of way of life. They're almost mythological in themselves. They was always ducking and diving and I think that was very much an East End way of life, and those people were people that you took for granted because you just thought that was what the world was like.
It's quite inventive, isn't it? It's quite sort of theatrical.
Oh, it's completely theatrical. I mean, the two characters that come to mind actually is, when I think of it, is I think they're really influential, and I think about them now. I haven't seen the film for years. Is in Pinocchio with the fox and the cat that sort of like are friends and they sort of go up the road. I think that there's an influence there, yeah, definitely an influence. Because things like hares and creatures of British countryside haven't lost their kind of magic. They're being sort of pushed out of life. They're being pushed out altogether because we won't have let anything live. But we were just talking the other day about the whole of Docklands. It's like one place that should just be blown up. It's a big lit up area. Nothing can live there. No birds can hardly live there. Anything that there was wild and green there has just been removed. It's glass. Birds can't nest on glass. That's why the sparrows disappeared in London. It's just like we're killing nature. London was full of nature. We had lots of nature. We used to go, see every type of bird. Birds are just, I can't tell you the joy they give me. I just can stare at a bird, I love my pigeons in my garden. They're beautiful creatures. I like to find out how they live. I like to see what they eat. I like to find out about their habitat, and I like to see them more than anything. No, birds are very, very special to me. They're just so trusting and clever. Every little bird has got its own special identity. I just look into my garden and I just can watch for hours. Sometimes I make myself so late just watching, like a magpie might come down and the other day I got a great spotted woodpecker. To see something like that land on your tree. But it's like Dante said that hell is a place without birds, and I believe that. and that was said a long while ago.